Hello and welcome to the Sports Show with Bob Spino, where a dynasty may fall, where baseball is reigned by New York. And what else do we got, Bob? A failed champion in the Celtics. Sorry, my friend. How you feeling?
I wasn't too overjoyed when it happened, but I mean, if they're going to keep taking threes and keep missing threes, and then you're going to lose. I mean, only Curry and those guys can make them consistently, and that's what Klay Thompson did, and that's what Curry did, and they hit him when they needed to hit him, and they're great shooters. You literally can be right in their faces and guard them tight, and it doesn't matter. They still make those shots. But that's the exception more than the rule. I've played basketball, and most people cannot do that when someone's covering you that tight. The Celtics, on the other hand, they can't do it, and they don't even have a point guard. They're sloppy. They turn the ball over a lot. And they lost this series in game 4 when they had the lead late, and in the last 5 minutes, they took 6 threes in a row and missed the first 5, and that was it. And then, in game 5, Boston actually fought their way back. They were getting killed at halftime, and they took a lead, but they couldn't hold it because Klay went off on them, and then Poole did. So that was it. And congratulations to Golden State, and I say that with pain because I wanted to win. But if you're going to do that, what are you going to do? The one thing that could change everything is what's happening with the Nets. We fleeced them so many times, but Danny never got the center he should have gotten. He could have turned around with all those picks he got from the Nets and traded a few to New Orleans for Anthony Davis. He didn't do it. But now we can get Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. And I would just, if I was the Celtics, I'd get rid of Smart in a package with Grant Williams, draft pick that we got, maybe 1 or 2 others. They said something about wanting to trade Pritchard. I like him, though. And if it had to be 4 or 5 guys for Durant, I'd do it because Kyrie's ready to leave. He gave the Nets a list of teams he wants to go to. From what I heard, they're not going to even give him a shorter deal now because he keeps threatening to retire after he's 30. He just turned it, and they don't want to pay him money. And then he just turn around and go, "Hey, guess what, guys? I quit. You still got to pay me." So he's out of there, and I think LeBron will end up with him somehow because LeBron runs the league. It's his league. And but to get KD, he is that Curry guy. And then it'll be perfect. It'll be the Celtics, Lakers, and all the best players will be playing on both teams like the old days, and the league will be loving that. They'll be overjoyed. They'll be happy. But I would go if I was up there if I was Kevin, and then he could prove to Curry, I'm still the better player because he'd be playing against him. Kevin is that kind of player that you can get in his face and he'll still hit the shot on you, and it doesn't matter. Even LeBron can't stop him, really, especially now that LeBron's older, but he couldn't stop him when he was younger either. But yeah, I mean, it happened. We lost, sadly, but I think if we get Kevin Durant, we will win indefinitely. And then, we would need a point guard, but you can get a point guard. Guards are easier to get than great big men. And that's a fact. It's always been a fact. So I would get rid of Smart, and then I would just find a real point guard who actually will take a layup instead of pass it, down the lane in an open layup. And instead of pass it out to a 3, I would just actually make the layup like you're supposed to when you're open. And we'd be fine. What do you think, Rob?
So, I'm just curious, Bob, from you, what's the crystal ball looking like for the next season? Do you think these moves you're predicting are going to happen? And what teams do you think will have a shot to win it all next season?
Well, if it happens, I think Boston will win it all if they can get Kevin. Will it happen? I don't know. And who's going to be there? The dummy people on the other networks and even the fans are like, oh, the Celtics are going to be back. But how hard is it to win a championship in any sport? You don't know if a team's ever going to be back. Just because they did it last year doesn't mean they can. Look, UCLA was the favorite going into college basketball this past year. Did they make it? No. Did they make the Final Four? No. So in today's world, it's not like the old Celtics where you knew they were going to win every year. Or the old Bruins, UCLA. That's what they did. But so it's really hard. I mean, I could sit there and say, well, this one, that one, but who knows what's going to who knows who's going to get hurt? We don't know. So I'm not going to be that dumb to like, everybody's like thinking, oh, Boston's a favorite next year for what? For throwing the ball away? For steal, getting the ball stolen? I mean, and I tell you, I don't believe in defense. Like I don't hate it, and I think it's important to a point, not to the point that the whole world does. Offense wins, and it's still, hey, take a look at the hockey, right? You got Rob, you picked Tampa in 4. Ooh. You know, I mean, I told you I was leaning. I wasn't sure. If I have to pick one, I'd lean Tampa because they won it. But then I thought about it when I got off the air. Who did they beat last year? They beat a team that really shouldn't have been in the finals. They beat Montreal. That actually helps you when you have to play a team that's not that good. I'm not taking anything away from Tampa Bay, but I believe in offense. And I told even your friends on the show, I go, offense wins. I learned that from Edmonton when they took out the Islanders years ago. You know, you win on offense. You have to score. And if you think about it, it's like that in every sport right now. Boston didn't win because they were the number 1 D and had no one. Tampa Bay is down because Colorado had the best of it. Yankees are winning every night. Like last night, I wanted to put my foot through the screen because, you know, it's funny because like I was walking to the club I went to and I was talking to a friend outside and he's a big Yankee fan and they were down 6-3 going into the bottom of the ninth. And before he even had the chance to pick up the phone, I go, the Yankees probably have the bases loaded. And he looked, he goes, oh, they got 2 guys on. Oh, I go, he'll hit a home run. By the time I walked around the corner, he smacked a 3-run homer. Game was tied. And then they won it three or four batters later. They only had 6 runs and 3 hits the whole game. And then they got like 4 or 5 hits in the ninth and won the game 7-6. Offense wins. Offense wins. And, you know, like I told this story on the show a long time ago when Babe Ruth played, you know, they asked the Washington Senator player, how come you can't beat them? He goes, because we scored 9 runs a game and they scored 10. You know, that's it. It hasn't changed. So that's pretty much it.
Well, 2022 has been an absolute disaster in terms of my predictions, Bob. I'm raising the white flag. I surrender. Yeah. I don't think I've gotten one right. So, look, I found the Lightning to be a team that thrives off momentum, and they were on a 4-game win streak after dropping those 2. And I just, you know, really believe that getting back again, having been there, having done that, getting back to that pinnacle, that they were just not going to be stopped. But that just wasn't the case. I do wonder, especially in that second game, how much of a factor the altitude might have been, because they didn't look like they belong. The Lightning did not look like they belong on the ice. But regardless, again, you're right. The Avalanche just put the points on the board, and that's what matters. You got to have more points to win. And do you see it? Do you envision the Lightning coming back in the series? Because I don't now.
No, not
overtime. You got to win 2 games in Colorado. I don't know.
I guess Tampa Bay could maybe win a game. I doubt it. No, they're not coming back. No, but can they take it 7? If they can sneak 1 in Colorado, like game 5, they could, because they can go home and win game 6. But they'll never win a game 7. It's too many games to win, and 2 of the 3 of those games are in Colorado. So no, they're not coming. It's over. And I understand that the home ice is not as important as the other, you know, home advantages in other sports, but no, because I just don't see it, Rob. It's too hard. And the way they score, no, Colorado's got this thing. Whether it's in 5, 6, or 7, it doesn't matter at this point. I think they've got it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they got it.
Yeah, I think they got it. So I know Mystery is going to be upset.
If they do fall, Bob, I think this one might sting a little bit more. You know, it's tough. It's that much more difficult to see it end when you've been on the top this long. Yeah. And this was a fascinating run, honestly. If you think about it, they were dead in the water against the Maple Leafs in that first series, the 3-2, and they bounced back. They escaped, survived, I think, overtime to get to 3-3, take that series. Then they just mysteriously just blew out the best team in the league, the President's Cup winner, Florida, swept them. The young upstart Rangers coming out with all the confidence, all the momentum with a 2-0 lead, looking like Tampa is done and over with. only to win 4 straight and make it back to the finals. So regardless of whether or not Tampa gets back into this or not, it was a fascinating run, and it's been fun watching them atop the mantle of hockey. And but I am encouraged to see the streak end and the Islanders 4 consecutive victories.
Well, at the end, you got what you wanted, Rob, because you didn't want Tampa and you didn't want the Rangers, and they're not going to win, neither one of them. So you ended up. You might have picked it wrong, but you're happy in the end. So that's good.
Yeah, the result, as long as the destination is we get there, that's all that matters.
Yeah, you took a crooked road to get there, but you got there. So that's what matters.
So are you feeling I'm assuming you're still feeling good about the Mets.
No. And I didn't I said this right from the start. We're good. We can hit a little bit more now. We got good pitching. My brother feels we're going to beat the Yankees in the playoffs. And now that he said that, I am absolutely sure we are not, because he's the one that never gets a pick right. Never. He's the worst. And they just can't hit good enough. That's why they can't, they've been winning a lot of 2 out of 3 series against teams, but then they really go play a good one who really should have beaten the Yanks last night. Houston, they play them in a 2-game out there and they lose them both. See, and they didn't hit. They still need more power hitters. And I don't feel good about them because they're going to tear up the league during the year. And when they play teams that aren't very good, they're going to beat them. But when they have to play the real team, and to me right now, the real team's the Yanks. The Yanks are going to beat them again. They're going to take them to the World Series and take them out because too many of their guys can hit home runs. Too many, I don't hear one Yankee fan complaining about we hit too many home runs. Yeah. Well, you have to understand, Yankee fans, you're pompous, and you're not supposed to win every single year. You don't win every single year. But no one does, even you guys. So, but you stick to the program, like they say, trust the process, and home runs are the process. They've been that way since Babe Ruth. So, and you've always had the best home run hitters and the best hitters overall. And that's why you win. And that's why you keep winning series. Are you going to win every year? No. Sometimes through some of those years, your guys got hurt. You guys forgot about that, right? How about the year Judge got hurt? He was out. That hurt him for like 2 years because the wrist takes 2 years to heal. But he's okay now, isn't he? And you know what? It's all about the home run. The Mets don't have it until this owner wakes up and starts getting power hitters. No. I know we have pitching. We have 2 guys that the Yankees have trouble hitting, Scherzer and DeGrom. But kind of like, Arizona did when they had Schilling and Randy Johnson, in 2001. But the truth is, you have to be able to hit to beat them. And if you don't think that ain't right, just look at last night's game. Because, it's 6-3 in the second inning. It stays that way to the 9th. Yankees only have 2 hits the whole game. And they got 3 runs in the first, the Yankees, to tie it. It was 3-0, 3-3, 6-3 in the top of the second. Stayed that way right up until the last inning. And then all of a sudden they unleash on you. And, Hicks, who everybody wanted to trade and wanted to put a rope around his neck a month ago, has been tearing it up. And he goes out there and he smacks a 3-run homer. They tie it. And then 4 batters later, they win it. So 7-6, they won. It's just ridiculous. I was teaming. I was punching the table. I was mad as heck. But I knew it. I don't want to watch them. And weirdly enough, I'm going to the game tomorrow. But I don't want to watch them until the playoffs, because I know what they're going to do. I know they're going to win.
What do you think the probability for a Subway Series World Series is at this point?
Well, the Dodgers are going to have a say in that. I think that we may see Trout get traded in a month. I know the Dodgers went to him, the Angels, in the beginning of the year and tried to get him because he was upset before the season even started. He's like, we better start winning this year, or, basically was saying, I want out. And the Dodgers knew it, so they called the Angels and tried to work a deal. And it didn't happen. And then the Angels started to win. the first month they were really on fire. And so that all died down, but now they're losing again. So I think what the Mets should do, I would call the Angels right now and say, hey, let's make a deal. And this guy he doesn't care about money. So this Met owner, so I do it right now. And the Dodgers don't seem to care about money at this point. So one of those two teams I think are going to get him. The Yankees are not going to get him. But
now I agree with that, Bob, because why? Because you and I were on the field at Citi Field and we saw Mike Trout, met him. So
right.
If there is any kind of future predictor of outcomes here, it's the fact that we ran into him all those years ago. And then wouldn't that be something if he did end up with the Mets after that?
Yeah. Oh, so what? I know I took another group of people, and Tony was with us where we met Mike also. I almost forgot the fact that we were also on there and we saw him. Yeah. But no, that would be ironic. I mean, but he never, I can't believe he re-upped with the Angels because he was saying for the longest time he wants to come back to the East Coast because he's a South Jersey guy. The Phillies were his favorite team growing up. I just got a call and I'm not taking it. Yeah, hold on. I'll get rid of this call.
Well, I agree. I don't, and don't tell Mike Scioscia, but I don't see the Angels in contention anytime soon. Do you?
No. No, of course not. I think Mike knows that. I don't think he has a problem with us telling him that, but I don't think he might not even care now, because he's not there. But no, I think he's going to be the big player, and he can tip the scale. He's having a great year, by the way. He can tip the scales depending on where he goes. I mean, if he goes to the Mets, I see the Mets going to the World Series. If he goes to the Dodgers, they probably will go. Although the thing with the Dodgers, they've had a lot of injuries. I know Walker Buehler is out for the rest of the year. He hurt his elbow. They're saying Mookie's going to be out a couple of weeks. My brother thinks it's going to be 8 weeks, actually. I asked him about that broken rib he's got. But I don't know. Maybe because of injuries, the Dodgers wouldn't do it, and the Mets would. I can't see anybody beating the Yanks on the other side. No. I mean, it was good to see the Astros give them all they can handle, though. At least somebody stood up to them. But that loss was big because that gave the Yankees confidence because the Yankees really were starting to believe they can't beat the Astros. And that kind of gave them, that stuff you pulled in the past, now we got you, And I don't see anybody else in the American League taking them out. The Red Sox, you never know. I doubt it. They're not as good as they were. They haven't been playing well, but no. I just think the Yankees are too good for all those teams. And the Mets, the Dodgers are the only ones in their way. But if the Mets get in it, I don't think they'll beat the Yankees because they just don't have the power hitting. They need a couple more bats that can pop the ball. And I think they need 2 more. But I would settle for Trout. That would definitely be a big plus. So, we'll see how it goes.
So if and when that does happen, well, when do you think it would happen?
It would be in late July. It would be the deadline. You'd have to make that deal like the 31st of July, I believe. So
Bob, the Gumby Rules came back and joined us and made a comment. He said Tampa Bay had an interesting strategy. They won the Cup in 2004 and collapsed so quickly and so thoroughly they ended up drafting Stamkos in the first round and then Hedman second overall in 2009. So did Tampa Bay's almost dynasty, was that the result of being rewarded for a complete collapse?
I think complete collapse, depending, is if that happens, it's dumb luck. Because that's almost like Lemieux retiring the year he did, and then the next year Pittsburgh sucking. And then who comes around but Crosby? A lot of that's timing. That's like, Elway, I mean, that's like kind of like Elway, retiring and then all of a sudden years later, you just happen to get a good quarterback. Manning decides he wants to go there and leave the Colts. So that's all by chance, I think. Does it happen every once now and then? Yes. But the Stamkos thing was, right place, right time kind of thing, I think. And I don't think that was a strategy. Nobody wants to suck, and think, well, if I suck, I'm going to be great for 10 more years because we're going to get this guy. You don't even know if somebody's going to draft him first, because if you don't have first pick, you might not get him.
I doubt Gumby believes losing and sucking is a winning strategy. He does make a good point, how the fact that it took their total collapse to get their best players.
Yeah. It's fluky, and in hockey, you can still kind of do that because, there's not a lot of big things with the free agents like there is in other sports that can tilt things. But it's more by chance and fluky than anything else, I think. Like if they lose this year, they're not going to have a great pick for next. So, because obviously they made the cup. So, and they're good, Montreal has the first pick next year. So that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, even if Tampa somehow finds a way to come back and win this, which I don't think they will, I don't think they're going to win next year, regardless.
Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be right. Hey, one thing about hockey, you really don't know who's going to win year to year. That's why Tampa Bay.
In baseball, Bob, in baseball, has there been a team that's surprised everyone, for better or worse? A team that's come out of the woodwork and is excelling, and a team that was expected to really, really do well is tanking?
Well, I don't want to say the Yankees, because the Yankees always are good, but they're actually playing a lot better than people thought they would. People thought the Mets were going to be better than them this year. And even with that, here they are tearing it up. So the Yankees a little bit, but the teams that really aren't very good, well, the Braves aren't as good as they were, even though they've been hot. But then again, they lost their centerpiece. They lost Freeman. So I unless the Mets totally collapse, I don't see the Braves catching them, but we'll see. Teams that really hit the bottom. No, not really. I don't really see. If you think about the Midwestern teams, most of them suck. And then you get to the West divisions. They're pretty much the same. The Padres are good, but it seems like never good enough. They're supposed to be where they are. The Angels actually were one of those teams. They were playing really good for a while, but then they went back to being the Angels again. So, no, there's really not. No, I don't see it. No.
So would you say the kind of projected script that you and others thought would play out has played out
so far? The Yankees don't really fool me because they're always, they win all the time. And even when they do something wrong or don't get a player they're supposed to get, like this year, they wanted to get a first baseman. They re-signed the one they had, Rizzo, and the guy's on a pace to hit 45 homers. So, yeah, no, I don't see anything. No.
All right, so it's an unsurprising season when it comes to baseball. What about the NBA? Are you surprised that Golden State went all the way?
A little bit, because they weren't quite as good. They would not have if Phoenix had beaten Dallas. That was the shocker of the playoff, because sometimes you need help from other teams that, I used to say about Boston, yeah, if I have to beat the best team in the other, in the Western Division, okay, I will, but I'd rather play the worst team and have them upset everybody and make it easy for me. That's what Tampa Bay happened to them last year, Rob. Because let's be real, Montreal wasn't the favorite to get to the finals. They weren't. So, if I'm Tampa, I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is great. This is going to be easy, So, you always want that. You always want, but I think that's why Golden State won. They would have never even got them. I think the Celtics would have played Phoenix is what would have happened. And how it would have went down, I don't know. because they're good, but they were the best team. They won 65 games or whatever it was. So nobody was even close to that. Nobody. So I don't think anybody even won 60. Maybe one team did, but I doubt it. And you know, but I'm surprised they won because they weren't as. But once they got in it, you know, I knew that they could beat Boston because they could shoot. Again, it's offense. It's about shooting. And I didn't know if they would beat them, but I knew that. I even said it to myself. I'm like, this is the toughest round Boston has to play because those other teams, as good as they were, the Bucks and the Nets, and they were all good. The Heat, nobody could shoot like Golden State. And that's the thing. Offense makes up for a lot of mistakes on defense. So, you know, I knew it was going to be hard for them. And it was. You know, that being said, they could have won, but they shot themselves out of it because they took too many threes. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do, Bob? So, I mean, there you have it. We're entering into the summer session here. No surprises in baseball. We're looking at the end of the run for Tampa. Any football news before we close shop?
I talked to somebody the other day who knows the quarterback that just got drafted by the Steelers, and he's good friends with him. I think he wants to bring him on. He's going to have more people watch our show too. I knew him from Morristown, and then he moved to San Diego. He actually knew Kevin Durant and Curry, weirdly enough. But no, there's really not too much from football. I mean, camp's opening up now. It'll be open in July. I'm going to go down to see the Jets and try to get on the field and see what they're about. I just think the favorites are, you know, probably barring major injuries, are going to win. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be right there. The Bills are going to be right there. I guess the Rams will. I don't think the Rams will repeat. I don't. I'm saying that now. But, you know, we'll see. Last night there was an NBA draft too. Only one UCLA. A couple of our players left, Rob, and only one player got drafted by the league, and that was our player. That was our younger guy. That was he's a great shooter, but he hardly ever played for us. And I don't know what that means. Can the other players come back, even if they declared for the NBA draft?
Say again, Bob.
Can the other players come back? Because only one of our players from the draft got picked.
You can. I believe now the rules say you can declare for the draft and back out.
Is there a certain time limit though?
I do believe so. I don't think if the draft occurs and you didn't pull out of it, you lose that ability to come back to your team.
Right.
I think. Don't hold me to that. Verify, but I'm pretty sure that's the rule.
Right. I'll tell you what. I don't. Only one of our kids got drafted, and a couple of them left. So they should not have. One of our best players left. He should not have. I knew he would. You know what? These guys think they're better than they are, and they're being lied to by the agents. And some of them want to make money, so they go play in the G League. So, which is actually, in my mind, it probably kind of helps the kids though in the short term, but in the long term, it hurts them because although they'll get paid up front, if they're not that good, they're not that good. Once they get cut, they ain't getting paid no more. That's it. But if they stayed in college and really worked their game, they have a chance to have a long career. So, I don't know. What do you think about college football, Ron?
I'm really excited for the season. The future landscape of college football, however, is very uncertain. I think we're looking at another tectonic plate shift in the landscape. I think conferences are going to mix up again. And I have the sense that we're going to be looking at a set of super conferences, maybe 4 super conferences, and it's going to be a separate league. It just seems like the money is reaching a boiling point, a critical point, and it's going to just explode. And college football is going to, not even unofficially like it kind of is now, but it's literally going to formally become like a minor league, a semi-pro league. And I'm concerned because what that's also doing is regionalizing the sport, and it's becoming Southeast centric, SEC centric. And, I don't think, you're not going to find a lot of people that will disagree with the point that the SEC is the best college football conference right now. But the sport will suffer tremendously if it becomes hyper regionalized and the SEC is the only dog in town. It's important for college football to thrive across the country so that you have a true national dynamic here to work with. If it just becomes SEC and everybody else, you'll see the sport dwindle. You don't want to lose the UCLAs. You don't want to lose the Syracuses. You don't want to lose Miami Hurricanes. You don't want to lose these teams that are outside that bubble. And I'm concerned that the next tectonic shift puts that at risk. And hopefully it can work out in a way where we don't lose programs that have been playing football for ages. The teams, a team like Miami, Ohio, or Ohio University, those MAC schools, these Sun Belt schools, they've been playing for 100 years or more. I mean, they're not new. These aren't new kids on the block. And to see programs like that possibly just be disintegrated because of a SEC money grab, that would suck. So I hope that doesn't happen.
Right. What teams do you think are going to be good this year? Same old teams? I know SC is, and I hate them.
I mean, you figure Alabama again. I think same old and same old. The ACC will shift a bit. I don't see Pittsburgh having the same run. I think they're underestimating the impact of losing their star quarterback. So I don't think Wake is going to have as good a run, although they do have their quarterback back. But Hartman seems to struggle in the big moment a bit, even now, even as a seasoned quarterback. So that's a concern for them. As far as the Pac-10, Pac-12, I still see UCLA continuing to improve. I still like Chip Kelly, but I think he's at a point where you folks are expecting he's got to win that conference, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, with SC now and all these, blue chippers going there and the new coach.
Yeah, you got to get on it now because SC is a tsunami wave coming.
Right. It's going to be hard to beat them.
I hate them. Who did they poach? They took
everybody from Oklahoma.
They poached Oklahoma. Yeah, that's it. They literally poached a major blue blood program.
Right.
So they're flexing their muscle. That's what you're seeing. The muscles are getting flexed by the major programs.
Right. I mean, that's what I see. But, and I hate it because I hate them. But what are you going to do? It's kind of the same old thing. They're a football school. We're a basketball. It's just kind of how it is. I mean, that's how it always was. So.
You could take that basketball only school name tag and throw it in the trash. That's nonsense.
You don't believe in that, huh?
I think UCLA is actually honestly, UCLA reminds me a bit of Syracuse when it comes to football. You seem a bit cyclical. Granted, Syracuse is on a bit of an excessive point in their down cycle, but that being said, it seems to be a rise and fall thing with UCLA because you guys have been at the top of the landscape before. It's not like you've never been a top 10 program.
No, I know. But you know what? We never had the nutbags that are running the school now run it. We have people that are, look, I understand you have to learn a trade in school and all that, but we also knew that athletes weren't smart. And if you listen to NBA players talk, you know it. But we got them through. We had people, every college did this when I was growing up. They hired tutors to get them through but no one cared about that. And the hypocritical part about college is this. They say they really care about you succeeding. No, they don't. They care about your money. And if they really cared, they would let these guys pass through, even if they were yo-yo dummies, because they have to realize that their role in life is to play sports and make a ton. And they're going to make more than you're going to make. And not most people are going to make. And probably more, except for now, maybe, that the college is going to take in ever. They're going to they can buy the college when they get out. So, and that's what you want to do, make people succeed. And if you're worried about them being smarter, and we had a Princeton lady run our school who didn't even go to the games. He didn't even care. He just wanted them to be academically smart. And the one thing I've learned about smart is most people aren't. No matter what you do, you're only smart at one thing and what you need to be. And that's why we used to say when we were kids, yeah, college is for some, but not all, because not everybody's meant for it. But now everybody thinks everybody's meant for it, and they put all this emphasis on degrees, and you can't do shit without it. But you know what? It's not. There's just some people that aren't meant to be that. And you just got to let them be what they are. If you really want them to be happy and succeed, you got to let them go. And UCLA will not take in anybody that can't spell. And you know what? It's hurting the kids. So, and it's hurting the program is what it's doing. That's why we're not winning titles no more like we used to. And it needs to stop, really. It needs to stop. Because if you really care about these kids, let them go. Because they're going to make the NBA anyway. You might as well just enjoy the ride when you're playing at your school. And and then you can get a few more titles. They'll bring more money in because we're winning. Colleges are so big on taking your money. Why don't you let the program win? That'll net you a lot. And it'll get you more better players to net you more in the future. So, it's a joke with I'd rather, like they say, Oregon takes the inner city kids. Okay. That's what everybody should do. Who cares? As long as they can play. Who cares? Who cares?
And put them in, coach. Put them in.
Put them in. But they don't do that no more. Look, I understand you can't. You got to teach them something. They can't be total dummies. But so what if they don't know about history or geography? Well, history they should know, especially today. But geography, or some people didn't know where Wisconsin was. Who cares? That's not important. Unless you're moving there. But I like one of the players. What did he say? There's 3 Virginias: West Virginia, and East Virginia. One of the players that played in the NBA, Bobby Sir, I think it was. Guess what, Junior? There's no East Virginia. And
that's okay, because as long as the ball goes through the hoop,
right.
We're not concerned about that.
Right.
What we are concerned about, Bob, is sharing, and subscribing the sports show.
Yes.
And we ask that everyone please do so, and stay tuned. We'll be back next Friday. We'll probably have a guest on, and we'll look to see probably Nigel Miguel sometime in the future as well. Right, Bob?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to him to get him on. I'm going to make a few phone calls actually to him and Junior for a bunch of reasons. So we're definitely going to get him back on. So,
all right. So stay tuned, folks. Again, sign